Yeah, when I first met Danny, he'd been diagnosed with mesothelioma really a few months earlier and just rapidly deteriorated. Tried a number of alternative complementary type therapies which hadn't helped in the slightest, and he really reached the point where he was at the end of his tether. And so at that point I said to him, well, come on, what are you so frightened of? And he said, well, it's just what everybody's told me about the chemo, about the nausea, about the sickness, etc. And I said, well, the reality is, Danny, that nowadays, modern chemotherapy just isn't like that. You've got very, very good drugs to stop you feeling sick, and what have you got to lose? You can't feel any worse than you do at the moment. And he paused for a bit, looked me in the eye, and just said, yep, you're absolutely right, I have got nothing to lose, so why not? And literally 3 days later he had his first dose of chemotherapy.
I'm a jazz musician for 63 years now.
Nowadays we often give chemotherapy through venous access devices such as PICC lines. These are special drips which can sit in the arm, which then get threaded up into the larger veins, which can be there for months on end without causing problems.
I played with Louis Armstrong on his last tour of Europe, which was a great thrill, and I've played on tours with people like Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Tony Bennett. I was associated with Tony Bennett for about 10 years. These are sort of popular type things, but the bulk of my work has been as a jazz soloist, and that's what most of these, Tony Bennett particularly, loves to have a horn, jazz horn behind him playing fills, which and he dug my playing as soon as he heard me, so then he asked me to do all of his work in Europe, which was great.
Danny, like most people, takes some pills before his chemo which completely stop him getting any nausea.
Well, that, as I say, I've been a musician ever since I was 13 when I started playing, and at school, and when I left school I've been a professional musician all the time. So I've never had any sort of connection with asbestos, not knowingly anyhow. And of course there's never been any information that this is a very bad thing as asbestos will be. And I thought it only happened with people who were working with the stuff or something. But when we arrived here, we came out from Britain in '89. We bought a nice home, and it was immaculate, except for in the garden there was like the pool equipment had a housing which was a bit doggy, and a firewood container, bunker, whatever. And I got a handyman to come in and demolish those and build better ones, better, look nicer. And they left the old stuff there, which I've since found out was asbestos. And so I then, in my ignorance, with an old axe, sort of knocked it up into smaller pieces over 2 or 3 weeks, and put it in the bin to be taken away. I didn't know this, I shouldn't do this. No one had told me something like that. And swept the dust bits up and put them all in the bin. And that's the only exposure I've had to it, but it was evidently you only need to have one fibre to get it in. But again, it's a strange thing that people that actually work with asbestos, or have worked all their lives with asbestos, can get by without ever getting anything. Mine's a strange case. Dr. Dean says that I must have had it 3 years ago because I got pains in my side, and I had fluid taken off the lung, and he said that's when the actual thing started. Well, the general statistics thing, but this is only statistics, between 6 and 9 months from that moment.
Okay.
But it was like 18 months before I was actually diagnosed, because they couldn't pick it up. Oh yes, so playing-wise, I was still playing, and I was on Voltaren painkillers, which seemed to take the pain away from it. And didn't really think I got anything much wrong with me, you know. I just, something they couldn't put their finger on, until I got more advanced, and I got a second GP's opinion, and he sent me for CAT scans, and then by this time it was showing up, the tumours were showing up, which was a bit of a shock to find out I've got this dreadful disease. But that was now like November 05, so I've already gone well over if I hadn't had the chemo, I would have been long gone by now. And I couldn't play from when I was diagnosed. I'd just come back from Europe, and I couldn't play then because by this time I was having a job walking across the room without fighting for breath, and if I picked the telephone up, I had no breath left to speak on the thing. And they got me oxygen, put in the house so I could, which I ever used, and I didn't like the sight of it even, I didn't think I wouldn't want to have that. So after about 3 months, I asked Dr. Dean if I could just have that taken away. I didn't want that in the house, so they came and took the oxygen away. And I never needed it at all.
After using the PICC line, the nurses flush it through to get it ready for next time.
I had a whole course of treatment last year, which got me back over to Europe, as I say, for 3 months, and I did all the work. And I was a little bit weak when I came back, so they put me on another treatment. And I'm on a second course of different chemo, slightly different chemo this year. And I'm going back to Europe for 4 months again in July to do a lot more. He's in all of that time, I haven't had one moment of sickness, not even remote sickness, and these drugs are fantastic. And in fact, there's no sort of bad effects at all. I haven't had any side effects from it, apart from last year I lost what little bit of hair I have got. They'd all vanished, but it grew back again within about a month of finishing a treatment. It started growing back, and that and a little bit of loss of appetite and a bit of tiredness sometimes, just a natural sort of feeling a bit drowsy after the treatment. Not always, but sometimes. So apart from that, it's an absolute toddle, nothing at all. Now when these chemicals are going into me, you see the nurses wearing protective clothing and all that, so they're pretty fierce. But when they go into the vein, the PICC line and everything, you don't feel anything. You don't feel it even like a surge of water going into you or something. It's going into me now, and I feel nothing whatsoever. I just sort of lie here for 4 or 5 hours while it's being put into me once every 3 weeks. Then they take it all off me, and when I've got the stuff inside it, and I drive home. Yeah, well, he was very, very depressed, severe depression. I don't think he really wanted to see anybody, but he had quite a big family in the room, and they were all very somber because he'd just been told he'd got 1 month to live, unless he tried the chemo. And I told him I was in exactly the same situation 12 months ago, and within after 3 months of treatment, I'd thrown away all the oxygen bottles and all the methadone I was on, Also, I didn't like that, so, you know, and Andrew Dean couldn't believe it when I said I don't need those things anymore, you know. And then I was not only out, I was walking around the golf course with my son, you know, walking 7 or 8 holes, flat holes, but I was walking them. And then I went back to Europe and did 35 concerts and recorded 5 CDs. I thought I was going to die back then, I think. I thought they'd record me quickly. But, and now I'm in my second lot of treatment now. And I said, and he's 52, the guy upstairs. I said, I'll be 80 in August, you know, and look at me now, you know, and I can turn cartwheels if you want. And this guy sort of came to life. You almost see the life flooding back into him. He sort of pulled himself up in the bed, and his face, you know, is taking all this in, and all the family as well. Because when you're in that state, you need someone to throw you a lifeline. You need some hope, you know. It's not desperate. You've got a chance of, no matter what the doctor said, you've got a good chance if you've got the right doctor and the right treatment. Well, the general idea is that the nausea is appalling, you know, the vomiting and the sickness you get with it. It used to be like that, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago maybe. But in this time they've developed these unbelievable drugs that have cut that out completely. I don't sort of blow half-hearted. I'm like a powerful player. There's no holding back. You know, it's 100% concerts over the 3 days. It's a guy called Bob Bernard, who's a very famous Australian trumpet player, and he runs a jazz party, and what they call an annual jazz party, for 3 days. And he gets a few guys over from the United States, and my wife Jeannie and Em and myself go over from here. We've done about 10 years in a row now, and it's a good, nice atmosphere.
Is that on? Oh, it's on now. Good, thanks. I need all the help I can get. It's wonderful to be back here in this lovely jazz club, and it's lovely to see all you dear people out there, a lot of friends, and we'll shortly be taking off for another trip back to Europe. I don't know if my doctor is in it. He's coming in this afternoon to keep a beady eye on me, I think. He says that one more treatment and I can go. So we're doing some 40-odd concerts back in all across Europe. And what else would I do with myself otherwise? During this time, I was shortly, towards the end of July, doing the Edinburgh Festival.
I think the will to want to go on anyhow has a lot to do with it as well. That's why I'd like to hope that someone watches what we're doing now and sees, well, he's done it, I can do it as well. But you know, I want another 10 years anyhow. You know, I'm not ready to go anywhere yet. And I've got a lot more playing to do. Again, some people say, well, why don't you don't need to go on working like this anymore, you know, this must be hard going. But I couldn't do that. No, I can't do that, you know. It'd be unthinkable not to. That's what makes me tick, you know, that's really what I'm about. I'm as keen now as playing that thing as I was when I was 15 or 16. You know, it's a sort of way of life. Take that away and I might as well give them a dinner pail in now. Okay, what we're doing here is showing you how simple and painless the chemotherapy is. The old-fashioned conception of it, which I also had up to a year ago, was it was very painful and very horrible to go through. But I'm having it right now, and there's absolutely no feeling of any discomfort at all. I shall have about 5 hours of this while it's being put into me. Then they'll unhook me, and I'll just get in my car and drive back home. And if it happens to me, it could happen to you as well. Because 12 months ago, I was given 2 months to live, and I'm all ready to go back to Europe now and do 4 months of hard blowing with my saxophone on a concert tour, which I did last year. I did 3 months last year, after about 3 months of chemo. And this was a chap was given 2 months to live a year ago. So it's if any of you are at death's door and desperate, try to sort out. And Dr. Andrew Dean here at St John of God Hospital is a genius doctor who saved my life. He refuses to take credit for it, but he's a wonderful doctor. All you need to do is get hold of a doctor like that, Dr. Dean, and get some good chemo treatment, and then have the will to want to hang about a bit longer, because I don't want to live. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to last for another 10 years anyhow. So good luck to you all. Yes, they say it must knock you about a lot, you know. That's a general conception of what chemo does to you. And in my case, I have to say that it doesn't do anything of the kind, you know. I'm quite perky with it all, and sometimes I get a bit sleepy for an hour or two. That's all. Well, I probably am anyhow, that's right, yeah. I'm 80 coming up 40 actually.